Welcome back. The most talked about phenomenon sweeping across America lately is fake news. Ron, what is your take on it and how do we stop it?
Sad.
It is?
I look on Facebook every day and some of the news stories that I've seen throughout this political campaign. And let me give you one big fake news. Every year around Christmas time or holiday time, there's a gentleman that's put out on fake news that this one particular individual, and I will not even say his name, that owns Goodwill, is paid a $3 million a year salary for his ownership of Goodwill and how you shouldn't give to Goodwill. The guy doesn't even exist, but it's fake news that's out there every year.
Right.
The amount of fake stories that some of my friends post on Facebook, it's deplorable that they even repeated stories that like the shootout in the place in Washington,
Right.
because of what Hillary Clinton was or wasn't, along with John Podesta and some other people. What it does, it's again, it's a travesty that something like that happens in this country.
Well, and I think there's a couple of factors that go into this. First, as a media culture or as a news consuming culture, we seem to have no standards any longer. We'll accept whatever news fits our paradigm or our view of the world and kind of run with that. And I think that there are some bad actors out there, and I think some of the fake news is done in good nature. It's not meant to be malicious. And you have a lot of satire. If somebody takes the Onion seriously, then they might be in trouble as well. But some of it really is done maliciously, and it's taking advantage of the fact that, again, as a media or as a news market, we're very uneducated.
Yeah, as a creator of fake news, I can speak as a professional on this topic. So yes, I run a local satire site.
Right, you do.
And but I also specifically put on each article, this is a satire article. Now, one of the problems that I have actually seen, and unfortunately I've actually heard the city of Hagerstown has gotten calls about some of my articles because people will see the headline and they'll immediately freak out. They won't read the whole article. They won't see the part that it's satire, and they'll actually freak out and start sharing it with all their friends to tell them, hey, this horrible thing is going on. All right, and some of it's absolutely off the wall stuff, like hey, there's an alligator in City Park Lake to control the geese population. Come on, we're not going to put an alligator in City Park Lake. But I mean, people share that stuff like crazy. Half of them share it because it's funny. The other half share it because they think it's real.
Right.
And sharing a story is a lot easier than creating one.
Absolutely.
And that's the blessing and the curse of social media is anybody can be their own journalist nowadays and start it. And it's in a lot of cases makes people money.
Right. Oh yeah. I don't personally monetize my content all that much. I mostly do it just for my own laughs. But there are some fake news sites out there. Especially the malicious ones, who will actually intentionally, get all sorts of advertisers who pay top dollar just for viral content.
Right.
And it is kind of sad because they are taking advantage of people.
It's clickbait.
At the same time, it's also sad that people aren't doing their own research to see if the stories are legit. But at the same time, I was looking at a Pew Research poll, and for younger generation, the amount of the younger generation that believes that mainstream media is always true is at like 32%.
Wow.
That is terrifying that we have lost that much faith in our media. And a lot of that is because sometimes the mainstream media does fake news just to meet their agenda.
It's not going to go away. That stat that you threw out there is going to just continue to increase. Whether it's an epidemic or not, I don't quite agree with that term. If there's any bright side to it, maybe it's getting millennials talking about stuff. Maybe not alligators in the park, but maybe about other issues.
Well, I think the downside to that is when you have an instance like a couple of weeks ago where you have certain actors out there that will actually act on the fake news stories, and going into a pizza parlor and shooting it up is probably not the right way to react to a news story. Ken, to your comment, I think the biggest issue that we've had is we have media outlets, and they span up the whole spectrum. News is supposed to be neutral. So as a reporter, you're supposed to report facts and as neutrally as possible. We have media outlets that will skew the way that they represent stories, and they're representing facts, but you can skew the way a story is taken by your audience, especially if you have a somewhat uneducated audience, to fit your agenda, as you said.
Yeah.
I want to throw a question out specifically to Ron, because I'm interested in your response, since you were talking about media outlets. And we're talking about kind of like self-journalism, and but what about the major networks, Ron? Do you think that they are as well putting out fake stories in order to gain viewership?
I think they report fake stories. I think they're all trying to outdo each other. I try to listen to MSNBC, Fox, and CNN.
Get the whole
whole spectrum of what they're talking about. It's night and day.
Right.
I mean, and I won't point anyone out that's right over another one, but the content is reported so differently. Even within the reporters on each of the shows, they report differently. Some of them will go gangbusters to tear into one that's being questioned, and by the time that person comes back really quick with something, they totally tone down and won't force that person to answer the question.
Well, and I think, Ron, you're going to get the last word on that. Up next, our panel singles out this week's winners and losers. Stay tuned.